Okay, YouTubers, this is Joe from ArtAlienTV and ArtAlien.tv. If you haven't checked it out so far, come and check out my website. There'll be a link down below in the description. This is from Sol 1112, 1112. So these images date back years, okay? And if you follow the links up here, it will take you to the original set of images from NASA. So you can download them and look at them yourself. They're all real. Nothing's been tampered with here, okay? Not by me anyway, maybe NASA have, but they don't tend to tamper with most images. They simply don't have time. I think they publish every day. Just this rover alone publishes probably about 500 images a day. And it would be impossible to sit down and go through all of them and then tamper with them all. Because when you take the sets of images on later days, if you tampered with something on day 1 and that object was spotted on day 5, you'd have to tamper with it again, and so on. And often we see the same things months apart. So you'd have to keep tampering on something or covering something up and going back over things. And you'd end up in a sort of a spiral of BS, which would actually cause so much work that it just wouldn't be worth it. So I don't think they do tamper with them necessarily as individual images, but what they do is compress the images down. So we do lose a bit of detail. But they do that with pretty much all of them. And this, I think, is a sword. And it's not a very big sword, but it's a sword, or machete, or something like that. Now, here it is. Let me show you it up here first, and then I'll show you where to look. Here it is. All right? There's the rule clip there. It's at an angle, just lying on the ground. It's got something in front of it here. You can see that there, like a lump of something, maybe metal or just clay, hardened clay. This is in a lake bed, right? So this looks like it was dropped in the water, possibly off a boat or something, or it may have been thrown in the lake. Who knows? Look carefully here. This is crucial. Now, when I first spotted this, I thought, oh, it's just a piece of broken clay sediment that's shaped a bit like a sword. And then I thought, well, hang on, let me enhance it. So I basically color corrected it here and turned the contrast up. That's what I did. And you can actually see the handle here has a hand on it with fingers and a thumb. A thumb there and fingers here, like a fist. That's the handle that comes up to here, and then we've got quite a wide blade that curves at the end and has this part here sticking out. So it's almost like a bill hook or similar kind of shape, like a bit like a machete. It's not a straight blade. You can actually see the blade here, and you can actually see the edge here. Right? I'll show you with a magnifier because you'll be able to see the edge better. See that? You can actually see the sharpened part of the blade there. Even though this is ancient and encrusted and eroded and corroded, right? It's kind of, it's got concretion on it, which has probably protected it. If you were to pick this up and clean it up, it would probably come up pretty good, I would say. Because what happens is when you get things like this in clay sediments on Earth, they're often really well preserved in lake beds and stuff like that, right? Because all the sediment kind of sticks down on top of it and pushes all the oxygen out, right? So it kind of preserves it, almost kind of mummifies it in minerals. All the minerals kind of stick to it like this. So this is concreted and encrusted, right? If you were to chip away at this carefully, you would probably find quite a nice blade inside there, and you'd be able to clean this up. Pretty cool. So I'll show you what I mean. If I go in here, I've got it in here, and what I'm going to do, there's the rule clip again, right? Unfortunately, we're missing the very end of it there, but what it does is it curves round like that. I'll show you it in its entirety on here, actually, because we got, on this here, we've got a clip of it here, which is more of a close-up there, right? On the right, and on the left here, we've got a shot that isn't zoomed in, and you can see it down here, so you can actually see the whole thing there, and it curves round at the top there, okay? So we can see the whole shape. There's hardly any detail in this because it's not zoomed in. right? But in this one, you can see the zoomed in one, and you can see that curve just there. Unfortunately, the image is kind of cut off, but it just curves around like that, okay? So we've got the entire shape of it here. It was the handle that did it for me, really, because you often see objects like this on the ground in Gale Crater, in the lake sediments that have all kind of dried out and split, and you get funny shapes a lot of the time. But there were lots of things dropped in this lake. There's boat wrecks I've shown, there's bodies, dead animals, and all sorts of things in the lake bed that were left there when it dried out. And that's what this is. And if you look at the handle here, it seems to come along like that. And then we've got a fist or pommel with a fist or hand sort of clenched design, right? With a thumb, fingers, right? There's some weird little detail there, that may be, I don't know. But we've basically got a thumb and fingers. A thumb here, right? Actually, it goes in like that. And then we have fingers here in a row, in a sort of hand formation, right? But there's something weird there where we've got something there as well. So that may be part of that finger or something like that. So it's a bit hard to say. What I'll do actually is I'll darken this right up. Let's see if we can drag out those shadows in the hand. If I darken this right up, that should stand out better, right? So we go -10, and then the shadows will start popping out, right? Look at these shadows. And again, it's about -30 now. So you can start to see these fingers. You can see the shadows in between, right? And that thumb. Now, if I was to do that more carefully, I could drag those out even more, okay? But basically, that's what it looks like. And the blade is straight until it comes to here, and then it curves nicely there. And we have a straight bit here. This curves like this, and then comes round, and then comes back to the straight part. So it's a fairly wide blade, a bit like a machete. It seems to join to something here, but there's some weird crap on the ground here. There's something next to it, which might be another one, or a scabbard or something like that held it, because it seems to have some weird details here, like this. But it's all kind of corroded, and it's probably got bits of clay stuck to it and concretion, right? But that seems to be attached to it in some way, because that goes over it like that, right? So this may be a scabbard or something, right? It may be related. But what we're concentrating on now is the actual sword. Look at the blade shape with that curve. You've got the blade, the sharp part of the blade here, it seems, right? Sharp edge, what would have been. And you've got a nice curve there where it's beveled, and it would have been sharpened at an angle there, right? So let's get rid of all that. And you can see the actual shape of the blade. Now concentrate on that shape, that curve there, with the bevel there, right? Concentrate on that, and I'm going to show you some comparative images very quickly. This is a bill hook machete. Very similar. The handle's totally different, but we have quite a straight blade, quite a wide straight blade, and we have that curve there. And there are hundreds and hundreds of different shaped sort of machetes you can see online or wherever. You know, there are many, many variations of these things. Some have got more of a point, some are squarer at the front here. They're not as rounded, some are narrower, some are wider, some are more sort of much thicker here. There are hundreds and hundreds of designs, but basically, there's a nice one there. These go back like thousands of years, these designs, some of them. And then you have bill hook designs like this and halberd designs like this, which go back over a thousand years. Now these were designed obviously for attacking people wearing armour, which is why they have these spikes on them, because basically you'd whack someone in the head with that and it would go through their helmet, right? That spike. So these things are designed to actually penetrate, not just cut. And this is an orc sword, which is also very similar, although it has a straight point there rather than a curve here. But that in fact is more similar, the actual shape, in some ways, because it's straighter here. Right, let's go back to the one on Mars. So we got that wide shape there, but this is curved, but with a straight part here. So it's not like either of them really, but it's similar to both, if you catch my drift. It's a bit like that orc sword, which is fictional, but there were swords made like this on Earth, you know, and you know there are so many designs like this around the world, in Asia and other parts of the world as well. That I mean, you can spend hours and hours and hours going through all the different sword shapes and designs, and bill hooks and swords and glaives and halberds and that kind of thing. I mean, there are literally thousands of them, right? You could be here all day, but we're not going to do that. We don't have time for that. So it's a bit like that, but it's curved. I just thought that was an interesting comparison, but it's more like a bill hook type machete, not like this, but more like one of these up here, okay, where it has a curve, but it has a curve but then a flat part or straight part. Instead of it curving like that, it has a straight part on it, right? So there's the one I showed you. So yeah, if you imagine that, but with this bit straight. Now what may have happened, it may have broken, right? But it's a very, if it is a break here, it's a very clean break. But if it was, it may have curved around like that, like a machete. Or this may have actually been the design. It may have been made that way for a purpose. I'm not sure exactly what. Why it would have that straight edge there. But who knows? This is Mars. I mean, they may have perfectly good reasons for that. I don't know. I mean, it's probably be easier to carry something if it didn't have a big pointy part, pointed blade sticking out like that. It'd be a lot easier to carry it, or put it in a scabbard or something. Because of course, if you have a sword with a big hook-like thing on it, it's awkward to put in a scabbard, right? Because it would just make it really awkward to do that. So it would just make it easier, I suppose. So who knows? But that's what it looks like. And the giveaway, I think, is the pommel here, because we have a hand shape or a fist shape there with a thumb and fingers here. And if I show you one here, let's have a look at that with the actual raw image here. You can see that detail there, right? See the thumb and fingers and the pommel coming up here, and you can see it all there in the raw image, okay? Obviously looks better in the enhanced one because it's darker and you can see the actual shapes better, but you can see it in the raw image. So I think this is a sword. I've called it Excalibur here, but that's probably a bit wishful thinking. It's not as sophisticated as a broadsword or anything like that, you know, but who knows? This is also Sol 1112, but this is the rest of 1112, or at least most of it. And we've got in the area this kind of mound. This is that thing I just showed you, the sword, is on the ground here, right? Between these two views. This is view one direction, and this is a view the other direction. And in between that, there's the rover would have sat, right, taken all these images, and then looked down on the ground, and then we saw that sword, right? And we have a weird bunch of objects here, which look a bit like an eroded burial or some weird kind of stuff going on here. I've got a clip of that. Looks like a helmet or skull there, just there, right? There's loads of weird stuff all kind of jumbled together. Very hard to work out what's going on here, but it's highly complex, but interesting, right? That looks really interesting, that there. I'll go back a bit. show you with the magnifier. We got these weird jumbled up things here, which all kind of look slightly stuck together in clay and crap. So that may be a helmet, right? That may be another helmet. And near that, here, we have what looks like a little castle or a tower or the remains of a tower. Now, this is raw. I'll show you the enhanced clip in a second. So you can't see it very well. It's a bit dark. But we've got a ledge, like a ridge here with a little building on it here, right? Which I think was a tower or something similar. Let me show you the enhanced clip up here. I've brightened it right up so you can see it. We've got this building with a wall just here. There's a wall there, right? And what looks like part of a tower. So I think there may have been a little tower or block house here. Okay, interesting. Interesting stuff. And that's marked there. If you want to check these out, follow the links in the description near the top. They will take you to these Gigapans, and if you want to get the original images, just click up here and click on this link at the top here, and that will take you to the NASA page. Okay, here's Mr. Spamio, or Mr. Daniel, if you want to call him by his real name. I call it a real name, but actually it's not a real channel. A lot of these channels are completely fake. You go on their channel, they've got bogus information. You try and contact them, which I have. They do not reply. They never reply to any comments. And they don't have the proper information, image information in the description. So if you see any channels and they do not have the image numbers or links, at least they should have the soul numbers or image number or a link. They should have at least one of those things there to prove that these are real. And these are not, okay? So beware of these fake channels. There's a whole bunch of them. And the way to tell is they do not provide links, even if you ask for them, okay? That's how to tell. Whereas honest channels like myself, and Chris at Mars Anomalies or Jean Ward always provide links and information and always answer questions if we're asked, okay? That's how to tell between the bona fide channel and the fake channel like this one. So beware of that. There's loads of them, and it seems like YouTube are promoting them and pushing them right to the top all the time. So I think they're paying YouTube to promote them or something, but I think they're part of a psyop. In other words, what they're doing is they're flooding the market with fakery so that when something real comes along, you also think that is fake as well. This is exactly the same game plan that the CIA and various letter agencies did with the UFO file from the 50s and 60s right through to the 70s, 80s, 90s until recently when they admitted that they're real, right? They just, in the last few years, admitted they are real. But for decades and decades, they said they were fake and it was all a hoax, okay? But it was them that were doing the hoax. And now they're trying to do it with Mars images, where they're flooding hoax images into the market to dumb it down and poison the well so that people don't know what they're looking at, whether it's real or fake. But all you have to do is look in the description. If there's no links and no reference numbers to the actual images, i.e. a soul number like this one here, where you've got a soul number here, soul 1112. If you don't have any information like that in there, and there's no links to anything, then it's a fake channel, okay? They're bogus. So that was it really. We have a sword on Mars, or at least something like a sword or a machete. Not very big, but the Martians, some of them were not very big. A lot of them were our size, a lot of them were bigger, considerably bigger, but a lot of them were quite small. So who knows? You could call it a sword, you could call it a machete or a dagger. Although if you'd think if it was a dagger, it'd be pointed, not curved at the end. So there we are. Absolutely insane, right? Thanks for watching, everybody. Please like and subscribe. I'll see you soon.